Good day everyone, welcome to another Dav Jones Yoga online practice. Today I'm going to be looking at another class from the Functional Flow playlist and that will be, we're looking at wrist mobility today. So of late, a lot of my posts have been looking at kind of hand balance transitions and ways in which we're of course spending a lot of time weight bearing on the hands. So I thought today would be a very useful way for all of you that follow me and do my practices to just do a routine based around the mobility of the wrist. I certainly have been through my own experiences in regards to picking up niggles and slight injuries in my wrist, thankfully nothing too extreme. So what I'll be sharing with you today are ways in which I use these types of wrist mobility exercises just to maintain the health of my wrist for me, so I'm able then to continue to practice hand balancing. So yeah, I hope you find this useful. If you do find certain movements where you're pressing into kind of pain and kind of quite extreme discomfort, back away from that area and just try some of the movements which don't give you as much discomfort essentially. Okay, you will see for today's practice that I've got my props, 2 blocks and a strap, so please make sure you have them similar. Okay, we're going to start then in an all fours position. Hands roughly shoulder width distance. And just start with gentle rotations around the wrists. So typically with this, I will certainly start with small circles. And as I start to feel a little bit warmer through the tissue of the wrist and the hand, I will then gradually start to make the circles larger. Now I want you to particularly start to focus now as when you lean into your knuckles, so I'm circulating clockwise here, I start to really slow the pace of the circle down, gradually kind of weight bearing into each knuckle of the hand, and then gently circling the wrist back. And just do that for 3 rounds. Leaning into the little knuckle side, ring finger, middle finger, forefinger, and then thumb. Good, and let's just do one more here. If you do feel that you can kind of lean into the wrist extension a bit more, go ahead. And just remember what I said about any kind of extreme discomfort. If you do feel that that's what you're experiencing, then reduce the angle of the lean. Okay, once that's complete, slowly reverse and go the opposite way. And again, I want you to slow the pace of the circle down as you lean into the knuckles of the hand. That's 1. Going anti-clockwise this time. 2. And 3. Very nice. Sit back onto the feet. Now I'm tucking the toes here, like so, toes tucked under. And this will stretch the arches of the soles of the feet. With the hands, find 2 fists and just rotate your fist. See if you can limit rotation of the forearm here, so that would be coming from the elbow joint as well. So I just want you to see if you can isolate the rotation to your wrist joint. So quite controlled circles here, and then go the opposite direction with those rotations of the wrist. Nice. Okay, come back into all fours. This time pick a hand, come onto the knuckle side of the hand. Press down for the back of your hand And then work towards straightening the elbow. And then come to a stretch here that you're happy to breathe in for a few moments. Some of us might be able to fully straighten the elbow here, and again, it's not a necessity, a requirement, but it's all dependent on the mobility of your wrist joint here, really. I've been doing this quite a while, so I'm certainly able to straighten through the elbow. If you're able to straighten through the arm, see if you can turn the crease of the elbow pit forward. And again, for some of us, this might be you're somewhere here, and that already would provide quite a strong stretch. This would be as far as you need to go. What I'll always aim to practice when I'm stretching tissues of the body, muscle tissue, fascial tissue, is I just try to create a smooth, calm breath. Inhaling through the nose, long, prolonged exhales. If you are one of those individuals out there that has quite mobile wrists and you feel you're not feeling much here, then start to lean your hips back. Keep the back of the hand pressing down. So one more breath. Okay, nice and easy. Release the stretch. Find a fist with the wrist that you stretched, and again, just rotate the fist. And again, try to limit any movement at the elbow, and just rotating from the wrist itself. Do a few directions one way and the other. Nice, everyone. Okay, do that same stretch for the opposite hand then. Knuckle side down. Press the back of the hand into the floor. Work towards straightening the arm. And up to 8 breaths here. And again, if you don't feel much, straighten through the elbow and sit the hips back. Calm breaths. Good, everyone. Let's have one more breath here. Okay, nice and easy. We release the stretch again. Find a fist with the wrist you stretched, and just again do rotations at the wrist. Do a few directions one way, and then reverse, go the other. These rotations is something known as circumduction. So where you practice the rotational capacity of the joint. Okay, very good. Now, with a lot of hand balance poses, you'll find that, especially with the straight arm stuff, you'll find that you're going into what we call extension of the wrist, load bearing. So I often check in with myself after doing certain stretches just to see what my wrist extension is like. So if I now find the all fours, keep the shoulders over the kind of wrist joint, find the push through the upper back, so we're protracting the shoulder blade, moving the shoulder blades away from the spine. Start to lean the shoulders forward, kind of directing them over the centre of the hand. And what you want to be noticing here is we start to feel a slight pull at the back of the forearm, the flexor side of the forearm. And if you feel that there's not much pull or stretch there, then continue to lean forward, kind of shoulders over knuckles. I'm still protracting shoulder blade, pushing through arms. And again, if the stretch is enough for you here, you just remain here. And if you still don't feel that much of a stretch, you could continue to lean the shoulder forward, kind of bringing them now roughly over the fingertips. Keep pushing down through the hands, spreading shoulder blades, kind of rounding the upper back. and also then start to integrate, if you've gone this far, is to grip the fingertips. And here I do feel a stretch now at the back of the forearm, the flexor side of the forearm. Hold 3, keep breathing continuously, smooth breaths, 2, and 1. Nice and easy. Sit back onto the feet. You could again tuck the toes. This time bring both palms together, interlace your fingers, and then just gently roll out the wrists. Reverse the direction, go the opposite way. Okay, so just to give you a little bit of an anatomy of what's going on in regards to the movement of the wrist. So most of the movement of the wrist is controlled by the muscles of the forearm. On this top side, we've got muscles known as the extensors, and that brings the hand, the wrist into this position. So this is an active range here, or active movement. So drawing the top of the hand towards the front of the forearm. Good. Now you'll see here that my actual passive range of my in wrist extension is more than 90 degrees. If you think of when we're weight bearing on the hand, we quite often have the shoulders over the wrist. If your natural position or passive position of the wrist is more than 90, that means I've got to apply load for the wrist to come to a 90-degree angle. Now for some, you might start to notice when you apply load and you're going passively into that load, that you can sometimes start to experience compression, dullness in the front side of the wrist here. So working on stretching both the extensors, top of the forearm, as well as the muscles on the underside of the forearm, the flexors, is really worthwhile just to see if you can develop a little bit more mobility and essentially starting to kind of increase the range, the passive range in wrist extension. Just due to the fact that we're often spending time in this position with the foot, with the wrist, in hand balance poses. You're looking at like crow pose, plank pose, handstand, even downward dog. You know, you're essentially continuously weight bearing on the hand. We don't often spend time in hand balance poses where we're placing the hand like this and weight bearing on the hand. So apart from the stretch that we just done. So it really is looking to ways in which we can develop awareness and teaching the body to spend time in loading the wrist in wrist extension. Come back into all fours. This time you're going to turn the 5 fingers back of one hand. So we've got the flexor side of the forearm now facing forward. Press down through the heel of the hand and you'll get that stretch now into the back of the forearm, known as the flexors. So the flexors does this for the wrist, it draws the palm towards the back of the forearm. So we're now stretching out the flexors. Now essentially here, if you feel that there isn't much of a stretch, you could again find that push through the hand and lean the weight back a little bit. I'm pressing the heel of my hand down. If this is quite manageable for you, you may wish to do both hands at the same time. If it's more than enough of just the one hand, you'll have 5 breaths stretch on the one hand and then repeat the same 5 breath stretch on the opposite. Now I'm going to give progressions from here. So again, we press down for the palm, round the spine, and we'd slowly lean back if you want a little bit more. There is one extra addition that I would like to share. So if you do find that the stretch you would like just a little bit more, then you could also then try to bend the elbow. And that should certainly get a desired stretch into the flexors of the forearm. Let's have one more breath here, inhaling. and exhaling. Okay, gently release the stretch. Again, we're going to sit back onto the feet, toes tucked or untucked, up to you. And again, with both hands, find fists and just find gentle circular rotations here. So we've just covered there passive stretching of both the extensors, top of the forearm, and the flexors at the back of the forearm. Now, if you think of when we're doing yoga poses, we're typically moving the wrist joint in these two functions, extension as well as flexion, really. So when we're on the hands down and we're gripping the fingers, we're actually tuning up or engaging the muscles at the flexor side, the back of the forearm. Now what we want to make sure is that also the functions of the wrist also does abduction, so turning the hand out to the side, away from you. And then also we can do something called adduction, where the hand comes in towards the midline. So if we start to also practice ways in which we can train all these four functions, extension, flexion, abduction, and adduction, it tends to then provide that general efficient functioning of your wrist joint. So I want you to find one of your blocks, come into a seated position that's comfortable. You can spread the legs here. Bring the block up onto the highest setting, and we'll do the right forearm first. So I want you to place your forearm on the block and just allow enough space to where your wrist hangs over the edge of the block. Find a fist. Now from here, I want you to try to limit any movement in the forearm. So the rotation is just coming as best you can from the wrist itself. If you find it's difficult to stop the forearm from moving, you can actively kind of clamp the forearm down like so. Try to essentially allow the forearm here to look flat. So if it's to one side, we want to kind of keep it at that flattened position. Clamp the forearm, find a fist with that right hand, and just slowly start to circumduct the fist. See if you can create nice large circles here. And again, limit any movement to the forearm. So if you notice this stuff is happening, you can see the top edge of the forearm rotating as the hand moves. That you're not just moving at the wrist joint, you're also rotating at the elbow. So again, let's continue these circles, aiming to be as honest as you can, keeping the rotation just at the wrist. Now I'll tend to do these rotations until it starts to ache a little bit in my forearm. And this could be anywhere in the ranges of doing 15 rotations. I find that's quite a reasonable number to work towards. And then once you've kind of reached that point of like ache, I would give it a rest for a moment and then just do the same rotations in the opposite direction, the opposite way. And again, go until it aches. I'm already feeling it quite a bit here in the muscles of the right forearm. Let's do 3, 2, and 1. Very nice. Good, everyone. Just shake off the hand. Do any movements that feels quite relieving. And then when you're ready, we're going to do the same controlled rotations on the opposite arm. And again, we want to keep the forearm still, the top of the forearm quite flat. Find a fist with that left hand, and then just start circulating the fist. And go until it starts to ache. See if you can really start to make the rotations nice and clean. When you first start doing this, you might notice some clunks, some clicks. And with practice, you will find over time that these clicks and clunks start to kind of smooth out themselves. Maybe you're noticing less mobility in one wrist than the other. Okay, I'm going to rotate, go the opposite way. Don't feel it. And if you do find, you know, you're pretty strong in your forearms, and this is the kind of work that you maintain for your hand balance practice, you could progress with this sort of stuff and add weight to the hand. You could hold a dumbbell, 1 kg, 2 kg, and start to work on that. Okay, do one more rotation here, and once you release, again, just shake off the hand. Now you remember mentioning me before, so if we start to then work the 4 functions of the wrist with active range, so using no external force, just to move the joint, the wrist joint, through its relevant mobility possibilities. So what I'm going to do for this now, I've got a strap, so I've rolled the strap up nice and tight. I'm just going to hold the strap as strongly as I can in this right hand. You could use a ball. Again, those that want to progress, that have particularly strong forearms, you could use a weight as well, something that's manageable. So I want you to grip your item in the hand as strongly as you can. So you've got like a strong grip here. Again, place the forearm on the block, and first off, you're just going to come into active wrist extension. So I'm going to hold it here, and I'm going to use the muscles of my extensors here, the top of the forearm muscles, to draw the back of the hand as actively as I can towards the elbow. Good. And with each exhale here, I'll see if I can just get a little bit more range, drawing the back of the hand towards the elbow. Stay 3, 2, and 1. Relax, and then slowly take your wrist here into flexion. So I'm going to go into end range flexion. Now I want to see if I can still maintain that strong grip on your prop, whether that's whatever that is. And then once I come into the end range flexion, this time I'm trying to draw the palm, the prop, up to the underside of the forearm, the flexors of the forearm. I find my end range, and again I have roughly up to 5 breaths. With each exhale I try to get the hand just a bit closer to the flexors of the forearm. 3, 2, and 1. Okay, nice. You might want to do a few rotations, perhaps spread the fingers here. Quite common in this sort of type of training to get cramp in certain areas of your joints, in the muscle tissue. So feel free to release and then have another try. We're just going to do one more here. Go back to extension. Actively draw the back of the hand towards the extensors of the forearm. Stay 5. Long exhales. 4. You can increase the effort on the exhale if you can. 2, and 1. Again, slowly take it back into flexion. Keep the strong grip of the prop. And again, do your best to try to draw the fist to the flexors of the forearm. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Relax. Okay, well done. So we've just covered their active range in extension as well as flexion. Now turn the forearm on its side so you have the thumb side up. I'm still gripping the prop here. Now we're going to go into abduction. So you turn the knuckles down towards the floor, come to the end range, and then actively try to draw the little finger side of the hand towards the ulna of the forearm, the ulnar bone of the forearm. Stay 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now go into adduction. You might find there's certainly less range here. Now we're trying to draw kind of the thumb side of this fist towards the inner forearm bone. Maintain. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. We'll just do one more round. Go to abduction again. Hold. Really draw the little finger side to the radius bone. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Back to adduction. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, relax. Shake off the hand. You might find that it feels quite a lot more spacious in the capsule of the wrist joint. This is the beauty of doing this mobility work. Okay, bring that prop into the left hand. Forearm is flat again. So first off, we're going to go to wrist extension. We'll hold here for 5 breaths, drawing the back of the hand towards the elbow joint. Stay 5, grip the prop in the hand, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Slowly make your way into flexion. Go to end range, drawing the palm to the underside of the forearm. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Back into extension. Hold, pull back. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Very good. Flexion. 5, pull back. 4. I use the exhale just to get a bit more effort if I can. 3, 2, and 1. Well done. Again, give the hand a little shake. And then we're going to go into adduction and abduction. So again, thumb side is up, gripping your prop. Slowly take the wrist into adduction. My apologies, abduction, away from the ulnar side of your forearm. Draw the little finger side to the radius of the wrist. Stay 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Adduction. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. We'll do one more here. Go back into abduction. Good. Pull the little finger side of the hand towards the radius side of the forearm. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Back to adduction. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, release the prop, remove the block, and again, just do a few rotations here for the fist. I want to once again, everyone, test now weight bearing on the hands. So all fours. Find that push through the arms. Stack the shoulders over the wrist first. And then we're going to slowly start to move towards wrist extension. Shoulder roughly over the centre of the hand. Keep that push through the shoulders, rounded upper back. And then slowly lean shoulders over knuckles. Now I want us to see those out there that found it was quite intense of a stretch for the shoulders over the palm. See if you've had any kind of improvement in your range here, to the point where it feels quite, you feel quite safe, it feels quite confident to take the shoulder further forward. And again, someone like me, I find that I'm able to quite comfortably take the shoulder over the fingertips. In this position now, I'm actually able to take the shoulder a bit further forward of the fingertips. And I keep gripping the fingertips, keep pushing through the upper back. And that's a nice wrist warm-up mobility exercise that you can do for your own practice. Now this session has taken us 30 minutes. Whether you're going to spend 30 minutes entirely on just warming up your wrists, because I know time is precious for us all. So you could kind of just choose aspects of this routine where you did feel particularly challenged in your forearm, whether that was some of the stretches or the active range stuff, and just include those within your wrist warm-up sequence. Once you start to develop improvement, progression, and kind of like noticeable difference in those particular exercises, then you can start to add load to further increase the adaptation then of your muscle tissue. But like I say, I'll tend to use these types of movements in my general warm-up for my wrist mobility when I do a hand balance practice. Thanks for joining everyone. Hope you enjoyed this practice and found it useful.